Today, we're going to discuss the miracle you'll hear for the first time. Mind-blowing symmetry in Quran page. Get ready to see the symmetrical miracle. I'm Cleofe from the Cleofe podcast. Let's move on to the deep dive, but as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to help spread the word. Also, if you like to contribute to our dawah, spreading Islam all over the globe, mission, then hit the join and thanks buttons. Now, Jack and Wilson, we'd love to hear your deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of compelling source material and extract the clearest, most surprising knowledge for you.
Today, we are undertaking a truly unusual mission. Our source documents present an extraordinary claim that the primary sacred text of Islam, the Quran, possesses a kind of hidden architecture.
A hidden architecture. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it's a complex system of structural and numerical patterns, things that the sources claim defy human composition.
Right. And for those of you who are maybe coming to this topic fresh, we're looking specifically at claims of symmetry within the Mushaf.
The Mushaf being the physical, bound copy of the text.
Exactly. And the core thesis here from these sources is that the Quran is a miracle, not just in its eloquence or message, but down to the very page layout, the alignment of words, even the frequency of letters.
And these are patterns that, interestingly, went unnoticed for centuries, often only revealed by, modern printing standards and detailed analysis.
So our objective today is to really unpack the evidence for these structural and numerical symmetries as they're reported in the source material.
Material which argues these patterns point toward a non-human origin. So let's dive into these hidden codes.
Okay, where do we start? Maybe with the physical construction, the Mushaf structure itself.
Yes, that's probably the most visible claim of a structural miracle. And the story often cited is that of Hafiz Osman Nuri, an Ottoman calligrapher. This was back in the late 1800s.
Hafiz Osman Nuri.
Nuri apparently spent years trying to standardize the layout of the text. The sources mention he wrote the entire Quran by hand 106 times.
Wow, 106 times.
Yeah, but the real breakthrough, they say, came when he looked for an internal standard for measurement. He decided to let the text itself dictate its own dimensions.
Okay, so not using external rulers or guides, but something within the Quran.
Precisely. To figure out the standard length for every single line in the entire book, he used the shortest chapter, Surah Al-Kawthar, as his reference point.
The shortest chapter sets the line length.
Okay. And then similarly, to determine the ideal length of a page, he chose the longest verse, the verse of debt, ihatemylife.
Oh.
And when written in his specific script, that one verse filled exactly one entire page.
Okay, so he's got his line length from the shortest chapter, page length from the longest verse. Now, here's the claim that really compels study, isn't it?
Yes. When he started actually writing, using these self-imposed text-derived measurements across all 600 pages, the results were allegedly perfect.
Perfect.
Every page started with the beginning of a complete verse. Every page ended with the conclusion of a verse. And crucially, no verse was ever split between pages. And this is where we need to pause and maybe process the difficulty here.
Right, because if you think about it, imagine taking any other massive book, say a 500-page history volume, and you try to force its line length based on its shortest paragraph and its page length based on its longest.
Wouldn't work. The structure would just break the text. You'd have half sentences, huge gaps. It would be a mess.
Exactly. So the sources argue that the fact the Quran adapted perfectly to measurements derived from its own internal structure. Well, it suggests the text was maybe composed with this layout in mind.
Long before modern printing standards even existed.
And Nuri's work wasn't the only example cited in these sources, right?
No, not at all. They mention other symmetrical mushafs too, like consider the sheer coordination needed for a copy from Lahore, the Quran Majid Alfi.
Okay, what's special about that one?
It has 21 lines per page, and apparently every single line across 221 pages starts with the exact same letter.
Alif. Every line. For over 200 pages.
That's the claim. Imagine the planning and the constraints involved in that transcription.
Yeah, that's intricate.
And then there's the style established by Hafiz Honsari. His method dictates every page has exactly 11 lines.
Okay.
And the starting letters of those lines follow a precise, mirror-like symmetry. The first line's starting letter matches the last lines, the second matches the second to last, and so on.
Like fa, alif, lam, lam.
Exactly. Repeating that pattern. Page after page after page.
Okay, so that's the sort of external architecture, but the claims go deeper, right, into the internal structure.
They do. We move from the general page design to the precise placement of individual words. And this really came to light with a discovery by the tafsir scholar Bediuzzaman in 1932.
Tafsir, just to remind listeners, that's the scholarly interpretation or commentary on the text.
Correct. And Bediuzzaman realized that key words weren't just randomly scattered. They often aligned vertically, like a hidden column running down the page.
A hidden column.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here, the sources claim, is how often this vertical placement actually reinforces the message of the text itself.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Look at page 35. The word rab, meaning Lord or Master, lines up perfectly 5 times in a row, straight down the page. The consistency is, well, it's immediate and striking when you see it.
5 times vertically aligned. Okay, what else?
Well, if you look at facing pages like 62 and 63, the word Allah appears 9 times on page 62.
Yeah.
And all 9 are perfectly placed, one directly below the other. It creates this clear vertical column. And this pattern, the sources claim, is then mirrored somehow on the opposite page.
Wow, okay.
And this vertical placement apparently reaches a kind of peak on page 422. This page contains the highest frequency of the word Allah 15 times.
15 times on one page.
15 times. And they are all in perfect vertical alignment. But what's really compelling is the contextual link.
How so?
The verse that begins on the 3rd line from the bottom reads, "O you who have believed, remember Allah with much remembrance."
So the structure visually emphasizes the command to remember Allah frequently.
That's the argument. The structure supports the content.
And does this pattern extend to other names, like prophets?
It does. On page 327, the names Suleiman, that's Solomon, and Dawood, David, are lined up one below the other.
Okay.
And page 449, you have Musa, Moses, Harun, Aaron, and Ishak, mentioned twice each, and all 3 names are vertically arranged.
Right.
The sources really highlight this as a kind of visual index. The repeated vertical placement of Joseph, on page 235, 4 times, perfectly aligned. It serves as an obvious marker for the text's focus right there.
Okay, vertical alignments are one thing. But now, let's explore how these alignments apparently jump across pages, creating these conceptual links, sometimes over huge distances in the text.
Right, and this is where the challenge of that 23-year revelation period becomes really crucial to keep in mind.
Because it wasn't written all at once in the final order.
Exactly. The Quran was revealed piecemeal, often in response to specific events, questions people asked, unexpected conflicts. The final order we read today was compiled later.
Which makes these kinds of long-distance spatial alignments seem incredibly difficult to engineer naturally.
Extremely difficult. Let's start with one that's maybe simpler. Conceptually, a link on a single sheet of paper, front to back.
Okay.
If we stay with Yusuf on page 235, the word Yusuf appears on line 6. The sources claim that if you turn that exact sheet over and look at the corresponding spot on the back of the page,
Yes.
it lines up perfectly with the word Jamil.
Tamil, meaning beautiful.
Correct. Connecting the prophet's name with his most famous quality, beauty, through the physical paper itself.
That's subtle. But what about the ones that cross larger sections of the book?
Right, those are arguably even more complex to explain. Let's look at the story of Ashab al-Kahf, the people of the cave.
Okay, the sleepers in the cave. That narrative is on page 294 in many mushafs.
Right. Near the end of the 7th line, you find the phrase, wa kalbuhum.
Which means, and their dog.
Exactly, and their dog. Now, count forward exactly 141 pages in the compiled text.
Okay, 141 pages later.
At the beginning of the 7th line on that page is the dog's actual name, Kitmir.
Wait, let me get this straight. On page 294, end of line 7, and their dog. Then 141 pages later, page 435, beginning of the same number, line 7, Kitmir.
That's the claim presented in the sources.
So if the mushaf is closed, or if you somehow laid those pages out, those 2 words, separated by over 100 pages.
They align perfectly on the exact same horizontal line.
How? I mean, given the revelation over 23 years, bits and pieces coming down.
That's the central question the sources pose. How could an unlettered prophet possibly anticipate and engineer sentence structures so precisely 140-odd pages apart to ensure that specific horizontal line match during the final compilation decades later?
Because if just one sentence had been shifted slightly in all those intervening pages...
the alignment would be completely lost. It's incredibly sensitive to the precise structure.
Okay, that's a challenging one. Are there other examples like that?
Yes, there's a similar perfectly framed dialogue cited, again with the cave sleepers. On page 294, line 11, One of the sleepers asks, essentially, how long did we stay? We've stayed a day or part of a day.
Okay, the question is on line 11.
And the answer, the sources say, appears on the exact same line on the facing page. They remained in their cave for 300 years, and they added 9 more.
So the question and answer are perfectly mirrored, line for line, across the 2 open pages.
Creating a kind of synchronous conversation, visually laid out.
And these patterns aren't just key phrases, they can be whole verses with similar meanings.
Apparently so. Verses with almost identical meanings are also claimed to align over hundreds of pages. For example, the verse about sending down rain in a measured amount.
Okay.
It appears right at the beginning of page 342. And then again, with nearly identical wording, at the beginning of page 489.
That's a span of 147 pages.
Correct. Same starting position on the page, similar meaning, vast distance apart.
Any others?
There's an example cited of sentences with near identical meaning, something like saying with their tongues what was not in their hearts.
Right.
This phrase allegedly aligns perfectly on page 71 and again on page 511.
Page 71 and 511, that's 440 pages apart.
440 pages. Yet the claim is these phrases start at the exact same spot on the respective fourth lines of those pages.
So this isn't just visual symmetry anymore. It's like a semantic symmetry linked to an engineered spatial structure.
That's certainly how the sources frame it.
Okay. We've covered the visual structure, the page layout, the word alignment, both vertically and across pages. Now let's pivot completely. Let's talk pure mathematics.
Ah, yes, the numerical miracles. This moves into the frequency of specific words across the entire text.
Right. Not just where they are, but how many times they appear.
And the sources claim that the repetition counts of certain key words map directly onto, well, observable features of the world, or they create these perfect balances between conceptual opposites.
Okay, let's start with time references. Those seem pretty direct.
They are. The word yom, meaning day, reportedly appears exactly 365 times in the Quran.
365 times, matching the days in a solar year.
Precisely. And the word shar, meaning month, appears exactly 12 times.
Okay, 12 months in a year. Okay, that's neat.
It suggests a direct internal mapping of these core temporal concepts.
What about the conceptual opposites you mentioned?
This is also quite striking. The word malak, angel, and its opposite, shaitan, devil, or Satan, both appear exactly 88 times each.
88 angels, 88 devils. A perfect balance.
Similarly, Jannah, paradise, and Jahannam and hell both appear 77 times each.
77 paradises, 77 hells, another match.
It suggests a deliberate pairing, not just in concept, but in numerical frequency.
Does it apply to human concepts too?
Yes. Rajul, man, and Imra, woman, are each said to appear 24 times.
24 men, 24 women, equal count.
And maybe tying into that, the names of Jesus and Adam also appear 24 times each.
Jesus and Adam, 24 times each. Is there significance to that pairing?
Well, the sources note that this equal frequency links directly to a specific verse in the Quran itself.
Which verse?
The one stating that Jesus and Adam share the unique quality of being created without a human father. So the numerical count seems to mirror that specific theological statement.
Wow. Okay, the intricacy seems to deepen when we look at numbers tied to the structure of the chapters themselves, the surahs.
Yes. Take the longest chapter, Surah Al-Baqarah. It has 286 verses.
286, got it.
Now look at the count of the word Allah within just that chapter. It appears 282 times.
Okay, 282. That's close to 286, but not exact.
But then add the count of the pronoun huwa, meaning he, when it specifically refers to Allah in that chapter.
And how many times does huwa appear referring to Allah?
4 times.
So 282 mentions of Allah plus 4 mentions of huwa referring to Allah. That's 286.
Exactly 286, a perfect match to the number of verses in that specific surah.
That does seem statistically unlikely to be accidental.
The sources present further examples. If you combine the verse counts of 3 other surahs, An-Nisa, Al-Ma'idah, and Al-An'am.
Okay, chapters 4, 5, and 6.
Their total verse count is 464 verses.
464, and the number connection.
The name Allah appears exactly 464 times across those 3 specific surahs combined.
Another perfect match between verse count and the name count within a defined section.
Correct. And there's even a ratio pattern alleged across larger groups of chapters.
A ratio pattern.
Yes. The count of the word Allah in surahs 2 through 6 is claimed to be exactly double the amount found in the next block, surahs 7 through 11.
Okay, double.
which in turn is exactly double the count found in the next block. So it is 12 through 16.
So a consistent halving of the count across these consecutive blocks of chapters.
A precise 2.1 ratio maintained across sections revealed at totally different times, yet holding true in the final compiled structure.
So if we just take a step back for a moment, bring all this back to the historical timeline we discussed.
Right.
What does this apparent synthesis of, well, architecture and wisdom truly imply according to these sources?
It really forces us to confront that core challenge again.
Mm-hmm.
The text was revealed episodically over 23 years. The final structural order was arranged later.
Right.
So the sources argue if the Prophet Muhammad, who history records as unlettered, had altered even a single sentence, maybe just one word, during those 2 decades of revelation, all these complex numerical ratios, these intricate cross-page alignments, the vertical structures, the page balancing based on internal metrics, all of it would immediately collapse. The whole system is incredibly fragile.
And the impossibility factor, as some might call it, is heightened because these patterns weren't things claimed at the time. They weren't used as proof then.
No, many were discovered centuries later by scholars, calligraphers, analysts, studying the finalized physical text, the mushaf, sometimes with computational help. The Prophet himself never pointed to these specific structures as proof.
And yet the text itself covers this vast range of topics: history, science, law, philosophy, ethics.
It's encyclopedic. It addresses almost every conceivable aspect of life in the universe. Yet while doing all that, maintaining its narrative flow and profound messages, it also supposedly maintains this incredibly complex, hidden layer of symmetry.
It's like that quote you mentioned from the sources.
Ah, yes, describing it as having mathematics in its lines, wisdom in its verses, and art in its sentences. Kind of perfect fusion.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it seems the sources present a book where the very structure, the physical layout, the word positions, the frequencies, acts as another profound layer of meaning.
A visual and mathematical layer, hidden in plain sight for centuries, only emerging through dedicated study.
Which leads us to that final provocative thought for you, the listener.
Indeed. Given that the text claims to be a comprehensive divine guide covering history, science, law, morality, everything, and yet it also appears to contain hundreds of these complex, hidden structural and numerical alignments.
Alignments that required seemingly impossible foresight across decades of revelation and later compilation.
What does this perfect synthesis of manifest wisdom and hidden architecture imply about the nature of knowledge itself, especially knowledge claimed to be divine?
It certainly gives you something deep to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden codes of structure and symmetry within the Quranic text, as presented by our sources.
We hope this exploration provided you with some surprising and compelling knowledge today.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. I hope you've gained some valuable insights. If you're a truth seeker, yearning for divine light and ready to step out of darkness, now is your moment. The truth is that Allah is the one and only creator of the universe. He has sent over 124,000 messengers and prophets to guide humanity, starting with Adam and culminating with the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. If you resonate with this message, you might be ready to embrace Islam. Simply recite the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. For further support, feel free to join our WhatsApp group. You can send us a private message there. The link is in the video description. Don't wait until it's too late. We look forward to connecting with you soon.